Welcome back to another SPR Sports News Podcast. This week we have a lot going on. A lot of MMA and then going over some of the WBC and maybe some other topics. This should be a decent length video. Definitely going to make up for the small one we did coming back from our borderline 2-week hiatus. So I'm going to jump right into it. We're going to go over UFC 326. The BMF belt was on the line between Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira. I'm going to go over some other stuff first before we go into like the main event, obviously. Want to go into the early prelims. Rodolfo Bellato had a great finish. He was actually getting pieced up, and then he just landed a right hook, and it just, after that, Luke Fernandez was donezo. And then after that, we went on a pretty rough stretch of 4 decisions and then a really bad Ricky Turcios versus Alberto Montes fight. Ricky Turcios was staying like 5 feet away from him, screaming at him, getting all pumped up. I don't understand what that was all about. And he got submitted in the second round. That was unfortunately that it hopefully for Alberto Montes, it doesn't take any stock from him. He's 12-1. He's a good fighter. But it's just the storyline of that fight was Ricky Turcios was a fucking goofball and honestly is not a good fighter. Dante Johnson, high stock in him, 8-0. He won a decision that was pretty close. He looked iffy on the feet. He was all right on the ground, but not that crazy good. He got taken down and he was down for about a minute and a half. I don't know, Dante Johnson, like, he looked great in his Dana White Contender Series at heavyweight, but I don't know if his power just went away when he got to middleweight, but he couldn't beat Dumas and by knockout, which he was known for the knockouts, and then Cody Brundage, that's been knocked out before, 11-9-1, he couldn't knock him out. So it ended up going to decision. That was honestly kind of close. Like, if some people could have seen Cody Brundage win that fight, but I had Dante winning it, but it was still close. The last prelim fight before the main card was one of the weirdest situations. And I've heard different things from different reliable sources. Cody Garbrandt basically lost all 3 rounds. He stayed on the outside, and somehow he won a decision after 2 points got taken away from Long Zhao from multiple 3 nut shots. And borderline a 4th one that Cody didn't react to, but it looked like it hit the cup anyway, but he didn't react to a 4th one. But that was actually before any of them. So, but he did land 3 that Cody reacted to. The second one put Cody down, and he actually was throwing up in a bucket. I've seen from multiple MMA breakdowns of rules saying if he threw up, the fight is over, and if it's off of a technical foul, it should be a disqualification. And honestly, that should have been a disqualification. But instead, I saw Big John McCarthy come out and basically say that the doctor comes in, checks to see how it is with Cody, and if he can't continue, you go to the scorecards if it wasn't put as a DQ at that point. This should have been a disqualification somewhere. The next one was another kick to the nuts, and it put him down again. And then after the fight ended, he still landed a punch about 2 seconds, 2 full seconds after the bell was already rung. I'm sorry, even at that point, even though the fight is over, I wave my hands and I say this is a disqualification. How many fouls are we going to allow to happen in an MMA octagon? We really have to get this locked down on. The product of MMA over the last 6 months has been more about the fouls than the good fights. It really has. People still are talking about the Tom Surreal Gone. Half people are talking about, oh, that Tom just wanted to get out of an easy fight. He's a coward. He should have kept fighting. While his head was being used as a bowling ball. And other half are basically defending Tom, saying, oh, no, look at how bad it was. It's like, this shouldn't be the talk. The talk should have been, look at how bad this is. His hands are out straight out versus up. People say, oh, but karate, you put your hands out and up. Yeah, but you put them up. You don't put them straight out. You don't. And so it's bullshit. It's complete bullshit with the fouls. And I'm 100% like, I had no dog in this race. I didn't bet on anything. I'm okay with Cody as a fighter. I'm not, it's like, he isn't my favorite bantamweight. But at the same point, like, if I picked this fight, I would have picked Long Zhao to win this fight. But in my opinion, this should have been a disqualification. And it was still an entertaining kind of fight with all the energy and stuff like that. The crowd was getting behind it. And, but I do believe Zhao did win all 3 rounds. If you look at the rounds, they should have all been 10-9. But then you take the 2 points away. And so it should have been a 28-27 for Long Zhao. But regardless, it shouldn't have even done that, even though Cody did somehow win. I still think it should have been disqualification. I think Big John McCarthy's wrong on it too. I just, there's the guy's thrown up in a bucket from a kick to the balls that is clear as day. And then he did it again. And 3 times. I think the one that he went down like that was the second nut shot. So it's like, that's the second one. If that was the first one, okay, maybe you could go no contest, but it was the second one. And then he did a third one after and got another point taken. And it's like, there shouldn't be anything. It should have been wave the hands, I'm disqualifying. Like, it's crazy to think that back in the day, Jon Jones got a disqualification against him for 12-6 elbows that are now legal. And it was by a referee that let people almost die in there. But then you have people like Herb Dean that legitimately stop the fights way too early, clap his hands anytime there's any sort of grappling, telling them to work, even if they are working. And that's what we're getting at. This product, when it comes, is more about the reffing and the fouls than it is how good these fights are. Legitimately, and with how many decisions there were and how much they were behind on time, fuck it, disqualify to get it over, get back on time. The first fight didn't happen until about 9:30 Eastern time. It was supposed to be 9 o'clock. They're supposed to be about 9:05. They're supposed to walk to the octagon, and the first fight didn't start till 9:30. So, I mean, fucking wave the hands, disqualify him. Fuck him. He deserved it. We're going to the main card. Main card: Gregory Rodrigues versus Bruno Ferreira. I called it. I said I felt that Bruno Ferreira could win if he hurt him, and it would be that, or Gregory Rodrigues was going to knock him out. I went with Bruno Ferreira, but I did say how Gregory Rodrigues was going to win, and he just he stayed back. He's staying patient. I love it how patient he's staying now. Since the which fight was it that he got hurt and slowed down? That was the Jared Cannonier fight. Like, since then, he's been a lot more patient, and I'm very happy with that. You're seeing that he's learning, and Gregory Rodrigues being patient and then just got the shot, put him out, and he didn't land follow-up shots. Good for him. Obviously, if I was a fighter, I'm going to keep going until the ref pulls me off. I don't care if I do brain damage to the opponent, but good for him to know that, yeah, this guy's done, because he was moving. If that was Herb Dean, once again, he would have allowed 3 more shots to be landed. That's my opinion. So, good job, Gregory Rodrigues. Bruno Ferreira, I don't believe lost stock on that. I really don't, because it was a beast. It was a great shot, and it just put him out. Next one. Oh boy. Oh boy. Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. Drew Dober has knocked out every black fighter in the lightweight division that he has fought. And the whole racism stuff that he's getting towards him and stuff, he's getting knocked out by other people. He's losing to everyone else. But when he fights a black lightweight, for some reason, he knocks him out cold. And it's not even like he knocks him out a little bit. He puts him stiff as a board. Michael Johnson looked great through the first round, won the first round. In the second round, he was looking good, and then Drew Dober just hit him with a shot from hell. And basically, Michael Johnson was even winning the second round, in my opinion, until the shot. And he went out cold. And it's insane that there's this whole what do you want to call it? These people actually believing that he just does this to black people. And I'm like, dude, it's a fight game. He's fighting for some reason. The correlation of him fighting black fighters, he always knocks them out. It's just a correlation. I really believe that, and I believe everyone else believes him. Anyone listens to Drew Dober, it seems the same way, but it is pretty hilarious. In my opinion, it's hilarious. I just don't like that he's actually getting threats and all this shit on social medias about this and people calling him racist and stuff because he's fighting the people he's fighting. He loses to certain people, but he beats other people. So I don't know. It's just funny to me. I will go over who I think the main card should fight after I go over them. But once again, that was a solid fight. Like first two fights, pretty fun to watch as they lasted. Third fight, this is where it slows down a lot. Rob Font versus Rosas Jr. Rob Font had his hands really far low. I know he was trying to prevent the takedown, but if he had his hands up higher and was working on his boxing and his jab, I think he would have done way more damage. And yeah, he could have still got taken down, but the thing was, at least he could have fought his game. He was basically fighting anti-takedown game instead of fighting, hey, let me actually try to fight to win. When you fight not to lose, you lose. When you fight to win, you have a better chance of winning. Rob Font fought trying not to lose and not trying not to get taken down. And guess what? You lose and you get taken down. Rosas Jr., he's 20 or 21 years old, if I'm correct. He's not a finished product. I see the hate of him saying the lay and pray. I know I don't like the lay and pray either. He still has years and years to learn. Like when he gets to 28 years old and has an actual striking game and a better submission game and knows how to ground and pound to do submissions like a Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira used to do the same fucking thing when you look early in his career. People are going to be like, oh, look at Oliveira in the main event. I'll get into that. That's not the same. With Rosas, he's very, very vanilla to striking altogether. Yes, he has a TKO win, but he's very vanilla to it. He's 21. He hasn't been striking much in his life. So he's going to take time. It's going to take many, many reps. And now he's in the top 15. So and he has this incredible grappling and being able to stay on someone, which is cool, but it's boring. It is boring. There's no way to defend that part. It's a boring fight. A boring style of fighting too, just laying on someone and staying in control. And I saw some people, and my buddy also, he said, how about the Almeida situation where he laid on Volkov for 3 rounds and basically lost the fight? Why didn't the same thing happen with Rosas Jr.? And that's a good point too. That is a good point, but Rob Font legitimately landed 0 shots. Volkov at least landed some shots. So I not a fun fight. Rosas Jr., I honestly prefer. I know I actually kind of like what happened here because I was thinking maybe he should have been fighting more cans, but then he wouldn't learn that he needs to do more. And he's going to learn, hopefully, that, hey, I need to find a way to do more ground and pound, or I need to strike a little better on the feet so I can open up more submissions. Because he will get a shit ton of submissions. If he's this good at this age in the top 15 and he doesn't get too crazy and doesn't get into crazy stuff, but he focuses, he has a very long career in this. And his style is very safe too. So that means he's not taking much damage. So good win for Rosas Jr. Boring ass fight. No other way to put it. He has a lot to learn. All right. Co-main event. Caio Borralho versus Reinier de Ridder. Both of them lost stock in my eyes. Both of them lost stock. Before last one I talked about, last podcast, I said that Caio Borralho did 2 weight cuts. De Ridder said he was sick. And now they fight each other, and they both look the same exact way, if not even worse. Like, honestly, De Ridder and Caio looked sloppy as shit. They really did. De Ridder couldn't get takedowns. Caio has incredible takedown defense. Incredible. But his striking isn't that good either. Like, it's weird. Caio's not really... I think his best thing is his defense. I think his best of anything he has is defense and takedown defense. His offense is not incredible. De Ridder has a goofy offense that works, doesn't have any defense, doesn't have any head movement. Split decision. I had Caio winning. I was not really too much of a fan of this fight. I do think both of their stocks dropped because Kyle called out DDP, which DDP should take that fight. I think DDP would win that fight easily. That's my opinion on that. I say that's an easy take. And Reinier de Ridder, he's in his upper 30s. He's back-to-back losses, and he looks kind of Honestly, I give de Ridder because he lost two contender fights. He has to fight someone lower. So, like, we'll go. I'll go more into. Actually, I'll start now. I'll go co-main and main. I'll tell you who I think they should fight. Then I'll go back to the rest of the main card. So Caio, honestly, I think he should fight Anthony Hernandez. I don't think he should fight Imavov Strickland or the champ. DDP would crush him. I think Anthony Hernandez is a better option. That's my opinion. But once again, maybe they won't do that. And because I'm looking at trying to see if we could build Caio up, because if Caio lost, then won a kind of iffy fight and then gets crushed by DDP, it's not that great. But if he beats DDP, fights for the belt, and he has the best takedown defense other than Sean Strickland that I've seen in this division. And de Ridder, my opinion, he should fight. He should fight someone that is in now going to be in the rankings, and I think deserves to be pushed a little bit. And I think he should be fighting Gregory Rodrigues. So now you hear Gregory Rodrigues, as that was earlier in this also. Gregory Rodrigues, de Ridder, that's my opinion. Crazy style, a little bit of grappling, right? Gregory Rodrigues hasn't gone into too much grapplers at this point, and I think this is a good idea for him to do. Plus, on top of it, I think Gregory Rodrigues would knock out de Ridder and get pushed harder, and I think Gregory deserves to be pushed harder. All right, now the main event, we have Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. All right, so what I said about Rosas Jr. fight where it was boring, the first 3 rounds of this fight where it's not boring. Charles Oliveira was trying his hardest to get submissions. He was he was cranking Max's neck. If any of them landed and he got the submission, it would have been like, wow, that was a pure perfect for performance from Charles Oliveira because he dominated, then got the submission. And on the feet, honestly, on the feet, like Max was quick, but anything Charles hit Max with, Max moved back. Like Charles wasn't moving back anything he got hit with. And so, like, honestly, it looked like in every department, Max was like losing everywhere. And Charles did try to land some nice 12-6 elbows. Max just started panicking because he ate one to the ear or the temple and he just started turning like crazy. I was very fond of Charles' first 3 rounds. I had Max Holloway winning. Didn't really. I've disrespected Charles' wrestling too much recently. His wrestling has turned up. The thing is, he's always a BJJ guy. He hurts you and then wrestles you. But recently, he's been using his wrestling, and he's been using it very well. He had a perfect game plan into Max Holloway. Blitz him with strikes, get him against the fence, take him down instantly, and then Max could never get up. I think Max got up once over 5 rounds, or two times he got up. Other than that, he was on the ground the whole time. In the first 3 rounds, he was defending takedowns like crazy that honestly most people would have gave up and just tapped. And that neck crank must have fucking hurt. He had a borderline twister on him at one point, and it was brutal. So I was on TikTok Live for the main fight, and I'll go more into the product and what happened during the fight to a lot of people on Paramount Plus after when I talk about what's going on with the product of MMA. But so after the fight, I was on TikTok Live and I was going over it. And I said, honestly, my instant reaction is I believe Max Holloway should fight Paddy Pimblett, someone that has grappling and came off a loss against a big opponent and has a lot of stock, a lot of name value. They could put that as a co-main event on any card and it would be fine. Honestly, if they were both healthy enough, you could put Max Holloway versus Paddy Pimblett on the UFC White House card as another fight, and people would be all for it, in my opinion. But really, that's a good fight. It's a fun fight. 2 name values, 2 guys that honestly are willing to scrap. One guy has okay takedown defense, but not the highest level in Max. Obviously, we just saw him get ragdolled a bunch. And then Paddy Pimblett might be kind of like, okay, I could take a punch. I see what the blueprint is to beat Max. Let me try it out. So it works for both of them, and it builds one of them up while the other one kind of drops down. I think that's a good fight to make. Charles Oliveira, I know he wants the belt, but and he's won 2 in a row. I will say he's won 2 in a row in a quick period of time. I think you put him against Arman Tsaroukian, get the rematch. Dana is not liking what's going on with Arman. And honestly, Arman is doing it to himself. He has. He 100% has done it to himself. Let the rematch happen. Arman versus Charles was a great first fight on UFC 300. Incredible first fight. Split decision. Honestly, it looked like Arman Tsaroukian went out cold and then came back awake at the end when he let go in the third round. But I guess I even had 2 rounds for Charles in that fight. And I've watched that fight again, and I still gave that third round to Charles because the submission was landed. And honestly, I thought he went out. And he woke up once it broke. But we'll see that fight again. Let's see it again. Arman versus Charles is a great fight. And it's going to be a high level fight. So that's a fight I want to see between those two. And Arman he is very guillotineable. We saw Dan Hooker land a couple, and then he had the alligator roll. Charles going to know how to scramble with that. And that's where it's going to be so fun because Charles can land crazy BJJ submissions. And Arman's going to push that wrestling, and they both are really decent strikers. So I'm all for that fight. I love that fight. I love the rematch. I think they both can do the rematch. So that's it for that. Now let me go over Rob Font. He has to probably fight another kid, honestly, another kid coming up in the bantamweight division. That's my opinion on that. He's going to have to fight a prospect or someone to build a name off of. He should not be fighting someone in the top 15. That's where I put him. Rojas Jr. Um, good question. I think he should fight someone that's decent at grappling and has good striking and has good takedown defense because I want to see him evolve even better. I mean, there's the chance he could fight like a Figueiredo, but I think that might be too high of a jump. Give me 1 second. So Rojas is 13. Vicious Oliveira, that's not a bad fight right there. Peyton Talbot, I think Peyton Talbot is scheduled or about to be scheduled for something. No, he hasn't scheduled yet, but Peyton Talbot should be fighting up, in my opinion. Marlon Vera is not a bad option, but he's off a bunch of losses, so it's kind of like, do you really? I mean, he's on what, 3-fight loss streak? 4-fight loss streak. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4-fight loss streak. So do you really need Marlon Vera to fight Rosas Jr.? I mean, but honestly, that's still not a bad move because Marlon Vera is so long, he's big, he has decent takedown defense. He will get taken down, but I mean, that's not bad. Like, you know what? Fuck it. Was either get Marlon Vera out of there, out of the top 15. Like I was thinking David Figueiredo, but that's 13-7. Mario Batista, no, he's fighting upwards. He should fight Song Yadong. I'm gonna go say Rojas Jr. should fight Marlon Vera. That's my opinion on that. And Drew Dober, he's still outside the rankings. Who's right? I mean, I don't think he deserves to fight someone in the rankings just yet. Well, let me see if there's someone. No, he should fight someone just outside the rankings. If we want to be funny and keep going with the thing, we could say Jalen Turner, but I don't think that's a good idea either. If Jalen Turner isn't going to retire, is Dan Hooker still ranked? Is Dan Hooker still ranked? Is the question because he's not that good. God, Dan Hooker's still 7th. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Get out of here with that. Dan Hooker should not be 7th. He is not the 7th best lightweight. No chance he is. Yeah, for Drew Dober, there's someone right outside the top 15. That's my opinion. Gregory Rodrigues, we already said I would like him to possibly fight RDR. And then Bruno Ferreira. Bruno Ferreira should fight. I would say the loser of Joe Pyfer and Israel Adesanya. Joe Pyfer's 14 and Israel Adesanya is up 4. Holy goddamn! I thought Israel Adesanya might have slipped a little bit. That's why. Yeah, even if Israel loses, I can't put Israel there. If Joe Pyfer loses, I think Joe Pyfer versus Bruno Ferreira is a good fight. That's my opinion. If if he doesn't lose, and that fight's coming soon, then because on top of it, Bruno Ferreira needs time to get a brutal knockout. So if we'll see how that goes. All right, now to talk about a little bit of what's going on. Before I go into the UFC Fight Night and the WBC, I'm going to go into some MMA news and opinions now. Then we're going to go into more MMA stuff that's coming up. So, Francis Ngannou got released, and Jake Paul did pick him up. Jake Paul is having him fight Felipe Lins. That was on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC in the light heavyweight division. And his last fight was a really bad fight, and he won a split decision. And I think he got released because of first his age, and it seemed I haven't rewatched that fight, but I remember the first time watching it, I didn't think he won. But you have a 39-year-old light heavyweight that's never fought in heavyweight in his UFC career, moving up to heavyweight. So once again, it's just a light heavyweight, not cutting weight, not a true heavyweight, and go to fight Francis Ngannou. So there's pros and cons to this. Pro, Francis Ngannou is going to knock him out instantly. Con is if you're actually an MMA fan, you're going to realize that this is just a match just to let Francis look incredible. I think that's actually not a bad idea, and here's why. Jon Jones and Dana White seem like to have this really weird relationship. Dana White will go from sucking Jon Jones' cock, definitely when it comes to Francis Ngannou leaving the UFC and pulling all the shit he did, then you just have fucking Dana just sucking it down on Jon Jones for the next couple years. That's where this really all crazy went down. And now Dana and Jon are both saying different things, which I actually do believe Jon Jones more on it, saying that we were in negotiations. I even lowered my price, and then they lowballed me anyway. And then I said no, and they basically said no UFC White House for you. I actually believe that. I really do. Because I think if they're going to take the risk in promotion stuff, they're going to want Jon Jones as cheap as possible, because it's going to be really hard to even get him to the White House because of he's a felon on top of it. And then you have, and with that, Dana White said they were never close. He was never even talking to Jon Jones. And basically, John's like, I was going to be big man and stay quiet, which he never does that. He always has to say his 2 cents. Let's be honest. If we look at any of the history between Dana and Jon Jones when there's a disagreement, Jon Jones never stays quiet. But I do believe Dana does lie a shit ton. I do believe both. But obviously, it's hard to pick between the two because Dana has a history of lying and Jon Jones has a history of being Jon Jones. So it's kind of hard to 100% know who is the right and wrong here. But at the same point, I always said Jon Jones could not fight in the UFC White House card because it's almost anti-American to let like a super, but it's like basically you if you have any sort of aggressive felonies, you can't go to the White House. The man has like 3 or 4. So like you can't have him there. But Jon Jones said if that's the truth, if you don't want to release what was said and everything like that between us, and it's like if you believe that and we weren't even close, and you're not going to have me, and you think I'm retired, then release me. Honestly, that would be so good for MMA. It would be very bad for the Dana White and UFC, and Paramount would be pissed because I bet you Paramount does want a Jon Jones fight. But if he did get released and Francis does what he does and knocks out the guy, Jake Paul will then have a chance to make a Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou, pay them both a lot of money, and they can have that fight. And Jake can keep promoting, like, hey, I will build a fighting organization and pay fighters properly. And I do believe that, and he does promote it, that he promotes like a motherfucker too. That's the thing, like UFC, it's been very minimal. Like, what happened to the days of the face-to-face, going to different places and, like, having interviews against each other for a while? Like, they don't do that shit anymore. It's very to the point, here you go. Even with the boxing one, they already did interviews for the boxing for the guy that made 15 million. This is making 15 million for the fight. And it's like, what? And they asked Dana about the 15 million, like, oh, well, you see a lot of UFC fighters complaining about it and everything. He's like, why are people complaining about someone making money? He deflected the question that way. It's like they're not complaining about someone making money. They're complaining that you've made all the 7.7 billion off of UFC fighters and you've raised bonuses, but the fighter pay hasn't gone up. And now $15 million is going to a boxer that most people, unless you are in the boxing world, have never heard of. Personally, I'm not in the boxing world. I never heard of this guy in my life before that happened. And I looked him up, looked up who he's fought. I don't even know who any of these people he's fought before. So I don't know who he is. I don't know who he's fought. And he's getting $15 million. While UFC, more people 100% know someone that's under. If I asked someone, who the fuck is Dustin Poirier? Never won the gold, never won the actual belt, never made 15 million in a fight, and he's retired. And I asked, do you know who Dustin Poirier is? To random people that are casual in both boxing and MMA, they're all going to say yes. People that are casual in boxing and MMA, you ask who that guy is, they're probably going to have the same reaction I did and be like, I have no fucking idea. So I know people want to shit on Jake Paul at every step of the way, but I hope he succeeds. I really do. The reason is because UFC is a monopoly. Bellator crashed. They got bought out by PFL. PFL is not doing good. They got the big name of Francis, and that didn't work out. And a lot of it was on Francis's side. I do believe that we're going to need, sorry about that, we're going to need some competition and some real competition. Someone that's willing to spend money, someone that has a lot of money and willing to make good fights that people want to see. We're going to need competition so it makes UFC up their side of the deal. And the next thing that will lead me into is going over what was announced, which is the UFC White House. The UFC White House was announced. It is called UFC Freedom 250. The main event was pretty predictable. We're hoping for a little different, but it was predictable. Topuria versus Gaethje, good fight. It's going to be a stand-up fight until Gaethje gets knocked out or Gaethje lands a crazy shot that actually knocks out Topuria. The starting line is going to be a minus 750 for Topuria, if not even higher. I'm not joking. That's what it's going to be. The next fight is going to be, this one I actually am very happy with. Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane for the interim heavyweight belt. So they're not stripping Tom Aspinall, and they're setting up a possible another mega fight for Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira wins this fight against Ciryl Gane. He's the better kickboxer. He's big as hell. He's honestly has more knockout power because Ciryl Gane hasn't knocked someone out in the first round. I'm just scared. I'm scared because Ciryl Gane cheats every fight. Every fight. Please watch his last 8 fights. There's punches to the back of the heads, eye pokes, nut shots. All 3. Every single fight, something happens. Watch for that. But that is an incredible fight. It will be standing up the whole time. It will be a kickboxing match, fun fight, good for people. Sean O'Malley versus Zahabi. I like the fight. Zahabi's older, but he's on a 7-fight win streak. He deserves a top contender, and I'm actually impressed that Sean O'Malley is taking a contender. I know it's an old contender, like a 39-year-old contender, but he's taking a contender. Do we wish Sean O'Malley fought Corey Sandhagen? Yes, we all do. I was just watching a little bit of the MMA guru Sean O'Malley thing that they're doing, and Sean O'Malley said he never got a contract about Corey Sandhagen. Never did. He said he got asked about Zahabi. He said yes, and that he wanted to fight Zahabi instead of Song Yadong, but he took Song Yadong. Obviously, this is all his words. Obviously, could he be lying? Yes, he could be. But this is what he said. I'm just repeating it. Also, I want to say, back with my picks from earlier, when I said, if you watch MMA Guru, which most of you probably do if you are listening to me, he did say Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira, and he did Paddy Pimblett versus Max Holloway. I will say I did not copy those picks. I was on TikTok live during the fight, the main event, and as soon as the main event ended, I made those 2 picks. So even though they're the same, I did not copy those. I remember calling my girlfriend. We're both at work, and I was listening to it in my ear, and I heard him say that. I'm like, "You motherfucker." Like, now if I put this on my podcast, people are gonna think that I'm copying his shit. Like, I legitimately said this on my TikTok live that I did that. And if you are wondering what my TikTok or my Instagram is, it is Sean Ryan Sports. So this is SPR Sports News Podcast. My Instagram and TikTok is Sean Ryan Sports. So back to the UFC Freedom 250. So O'Malley versus Hobby. I think it's a fun fight. I think Sean gets this done. I think he actually gets a finish. And then Rufy versus Chandler. If Chandler doesn't land the takedowns and quickly, Rufy should knock him out. Chandler should go back to his old-fashioned style of blitzing and then firing a takedown. Do exactly what Charles Oliveira did. Legitimately look what Charles did and do that to Rufy. That is the way to get to Rufy. If you stand there and just swing heavy and try to hopefully land and knock him out, you will lose this fight to Rufy and get knocked out cold. I like the fight. But I wish, I don't know, if it was McGregor Chandler, at least it would have been spiced up. I'll go into what I would say about this. But next fight, Bo Nickel versus Dawkins should not be on this card. It just shouldn't. Simple as that, shouldn't be on this card. If there was a prelim, sure, put it on a prelim. But a main card, absolutely not. It's only going to be these fights. It's not going to be prelims, early prelims. It's strictly going to be these fights, and that's it. That's what I think at this moment. Now we have Diego Lopez versus Garcia, Steve Garcia. Phenomenal fight. People don't know who Steve Garcia is. You're going to learn. He's a very good fighter. He is a very good prospect / contender. And fighting Diego Lopez is also a scary thing. If you beat him, you're probably fighting for the belt. If you lose, I mean, it's not that big of a lose unless you get crushed like Gene Silva did. That's why I think Gene Silva needs to fight 2 to 3 times before he could fight for a championship. Steve Garcia versus Lopez, very fun fight. People just don't know who Steve Garcia is. They're kind of basing it more off of Diego Lopez. Steve Garcia is Mexican descent, but he is an American citizen. Dawkins, Nickel, American citizens. Chandler, American citizen. The only fight that doesn't have any American citizens is the Alex Pereira versus Ciryl Gane. So you got an American on every fight card, even though one's named Steve Garcia. He's still American. Just Mexican descent. What would I rate this as a card in general? If you took away UFC Freedom 250, if this was just like, let's say, UFC 327, the next card, I would say this is a 9 out of 10. I would be like, damn, this is a fucking solid card. That's my opinion. But because how much they promoted UFC Freedom 250, how even Dana saying something about 7 title fights, just making it 7 straight title fights, talking about like hearing all the Conor returns and stuff like that. It's like, even the talks about Ilya versus Islam, it is underwhelming to that. Is it still a great card? And of course it is. But it's underwhelming because of the promotion they did to do that. That's almost like they get to a really good show, like a really good show. The show's been solid for a long time. And then they rush to ending. They just rushed to ending, like Game of Thrones. They just rushed it. They didn't know really what to do. They just threw it together. All right, boom. But they promoted it as it's going to be the greatest ending of all time. So that's kind of my opinion on that. And it's still a great card. I'm still going to watch it. Most people are. But all the people saying this card is shit is stupid. It's not shit card. If this was a normal card, it would be a great card. It's just the difference between the amount they promoted it versus what ends out being the fight card is the issue. I'm still a big fan of this card. I wish maybe they could squeak in one more fight. Maybe get Charles versus Arman on there. Just my opinion. Maybe toss Max Holloway versus Paddy Pimblett on there. American versus not American. And it's a Brit on top of it. American versus Brit. Come on. Like, I mean, that you toss that on there, that's legitimately right there. That's the third best fight on the card. If you put Paddy Pimblett versus Max, it's higher than Sean O'Malley's Hobby. Roofy Chandler, the nickel Dawkins shouldn't be on there. I'll keep saying that. That should not be on there. Lopez versus Garcia, it should be higher than all those. Like, why not see if you can sneak in one more? But we'll see. I will say Diego Lopez has been on some insane cards. He was on UFC 295, the 30-year anniversary. He was on UFC 300. He was on the Sphere card. And now he's going to be on the White House card. Diego Lopez will fight whoever they tell, and he's fought Volk twice for the belt. Like, he will fight anyone, anywhere, anytime, and he's getting rewarded for it, rightfully so. Do I believe he should have fought Volk a second time right there? No, I do not believe that. But I got to say, Lopez, when he retires, he can look back and be like, dude, look at what I did. Like, good for him, dude. And he's fighting a killer. He's fighting Steve Garcia, so that's phenomenal. So he doesn't care. He doesn't care who it is. Like, a lot of people talk that game of, oh, I don't care. Give me anyone, anywhere, at any time. Lopez is that. He is one of those guys. Steve Garcia is someone, if you're in the top 5, you're not wanting to fight right this second. Let him fight someone like top 8, top 6, and then get to you. And it's like after you come off a loss, you have to fight him. Diego Lopez just lost the championship fight to Volk and said, yeah, I fucking fight Steve Garcia. Like, fucking awesome, dude. So honestly, I'm okay with that fight being on there because of what Diego Lopez has done. I'm a big fan of him. I love fighters that do that. So that's about it for UFC. Well, we could go into the fight night real quick. UFC Fight Night. It's not that bad of a card, but there's one issue with it. It is very one-sided on it, in my opinion. And my my thing with it, with, like, for example, the main event is Josh Emmett versus Kevin Vallejos. Kevin Valle Kevin Vallejos should win. He should win I think, pretty good. He just knocked out Giga Chikadze. He won the decision over Silva, which is all right one, and he beat Choi. He knocked him out really quick, so that's a good way to say. He's 17-1. He should be pretty heavily favored, but Josh Emmett can knock him out too. But I think this is more of use an old name to boost him up. That's one of these. I think he'll be like a -500. Kevin Vallejos should win. I don't know by KO because I haven't seen Josh Emmett really get KO'd, but he should at least piece him up pretty damn well. I mean, he does have 2 submissions, but he has 8 wins by knockout, 8 in the first round. So, I mean, regardless, I'm gonna pick knockout for this fight. Second fight is actually a good fight. Amanda Lemos versus Gillian Robertson. That is actually a good fight. If you could beat Amanda Lemos, you should be fighting for a title or be a number 1 contender. So she is like the gatekeeper, high up gatekeeper. Gillian Robertson is good. 12-8, but she's on a stretch right now. She's on a 4-fight win streak. So not many women are on a 4-fight win streak. So this is a good fight. I think the odds should be close. I'm going to lean Amanda Lemos. Is Gillian Robertson good enough to be a number 1 contender style fighter? And I don't think Amanda Lemos has fallen off a cliff yet. She's legitimately, listen to the names she fought. She's fought in Tatiana Suarez and lost by decision. Incredible fighter. She beat Lucinda, up-and-comer. She lost to Jen Daroba, just fought for the title. She beat the current champion, Mackenzie Dern. She lost to Zhang Wei Li for the title. She beat Rodrigues, good fighter. Submitted to Karate Hottie Watterson. And she lost by submission to Jessica Andrade, and she beat Hill. I mean, she's only fought goons. Only fought goons. And if you beat her, you've either been a champion or you've been a number 1 contender where you fought for the belt. That's legitimately it. And do I think Gillian Robertson's at that level, or do I think Amanda Lemos has fallen off? I don't think Amanda Lemos has fallen off. So I think Gillian Robertson, I don't think she's at that level. It's a good fight. They're good grappling, good striking. The only thing is if Jillian Robertson does lay and pray. That's the only thing I'm worried about is a lay and pray situation, because that would suck because that doesn't allow her stock to rise. It'll say 5-fight win streak, but doesn't allow her stock to rise. I'm hoping that isn't the case. I hope either Jillian gets a submission or a domination on the ground and some damage, or Amanda Lemos does her thing and she wins. Um, uh, Kudabella versus Sai. Umar Sai is a fucking animal. Yeah, he's not losing this fight. This one's going to be Umar Sai is going to kill him. All right, next fight. Andre Fili versus Jose Miguel Delgado. Good fight, in my opinion. I know 25, 25 and 12 for Andre Fili. He's fought fucking everyone. And then 10 and 2. It's just that Jose Miguel Delgado legitimately hasn't fought much in the UFC. And he fought one guy that's a decent fighter. And um, he ended up losing by decision to Wood. So it's like, I think this is a good fight. Andre Fili's not as good as Wood. And I think this is a winnable fight for Delgado, and I think it might be a decision. But Andre Fili has been submitted and knocked out before and has some power and can get finishes. So Delgado has to play it somewhat smart. He can't just go dive in head first. All 10 of his wins have been by finish. So if he's going to get the win, he's probably going to finish you. So I'm going to go with Delgado, but we'll see how this goes. And we have two more on the main card. That's all I'm going to go through. Harry Hardwick versus Marwan Harry Rakit. He is 13-4-1. He's only fought once in the UFC and he got KO'd in the first round. And he's going against Marwan that is 7-0 with 6 knockouts, 1 submission, all perfect so far for 3 of them in the first round. This is basically what you call feeding someone to the dogs. Yeah. Marwan is going to kill Hardwick. Then Victor Petrino, 2-0 in the heavyweight division versus Steven Asplund, 7-1. He's 1-0 in UFC. This is actually a good fight because Asplund, he looks really out of shape, but he is actually pretty decent. Victor Petrino looks like a fucking Greek god at heavyweight, but he still gets gassed. He's still not perfect. This is a good fight. I could see Victor Petrino get knocked out here, but I could also see Victor Petrino doing some damage, getting a takedown, doing some control time too. He could get a submission. He could get a knockout. This is a very good fight. I'm going to lean Victor Petrino because I like the idea of a more well-rounded MMA fighter, but it is the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division is my weakest division. It is by far because anyone can get knocked out and you could get snoozer to whales humping at any given point. That is the fight night. It's actually a fairly decent fight night, even though there's not a huge amount of name value. So I'm going to transition now into something really big going on, the World Baseball Classic. And right now you have, as we speak, Puerto Rico is 3-0 over Cuba. That's 2-1. Canada 1-1. Colombia 1-3, and Panama 1-3. Puerto Rico looks really good. Not the strongest grouping. Colombia I thought was going to be stronger than they are, but they're not that strong. Cuba is good. Bull B is USA 3-0, Italy 2-0. They play tonight as I'm speaking. They're going to be playing in a couple hours. Mexico 2-1. USA and Mexico last night had an incredible game. Great Britain 1-3, Brazil 0-4. Those two teams both very disappointing, but at the same point, did we ever expect Brazil's not known for baseball and Great Britain is not known for baseball? Mexico, Italy, USA. I'm surprised the Italy team is this good, but they've only played 2 games and it's against Great Britain and Brazil. We're going to see how they do against USA. If USA wins, they clinch the 1 seed in their pool. Pool C, you got Japan 4-0. They've already clinched. Korea's 2-2. Australia 2-2. Chinese Taipei 2-2. Czechia 0-4. So that pool is completely done. And right now they have Korea in the 2 spot. I don't know if that's just because on here. So I don't know if that means Japan and Korea are moving on or if it's Japan and Australia or Japan and Chinese Taipei. don't know yet. Pool D, Venezuela's 3-0, Dominican Republic are 3-0. They're going to be playing each other next. That's going to be fucking awesome. I'm leaning Dominican Republic, but Venezuela is a very good team. They could still win. Obviously, both of them are moving on no matter what, so I wouldn't use everyone in that game. I would honestly play just to make it into just play it safe. Like if one of the two teams take off another, I wouldn't use your best pitchers. Israel 1-2, Netherlands 1-2, Nicaragua is 0. They're all eliminated. Venezuela, Dominican Republic could do damage. Japan will do damage. USA and Mexico, maybe Italy. I really need to see how Italy plays. I haven't got to watch them yet, but I know they're being coached by my favorite catcher, Jorge Posada. So I'm a Yankee fan, so I grew up watching Jorge Posada. So they got, and honestly, I kind of like Italy just because they have an espresso machine in their dugout. That's the most Italian thing I've ever seen in my life, and I fucking love it. And Puerto Rico, 3-0, and I don't know if they already beat Cuba, if that's Cuba's one loss. So they could be fighting someone, not fighting, playing someone that they should already beat. Next week, when I do this, we should be down to the finals, if not the semifinals of this. I'm doing this on Tuesday the 10th. Yeah, the last one's on the 17th, so I'll be doing it on St. Patty's Day. I'll still probably do it on St. Patty's Day unless I decide to do it on Wednesday the day after. So it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday next week because St. Patty's Day, I am Irish. I definitely do my corned beef and cabbage. I definitely celebrate my Irish heritage on that day. So there's a chance that there's not a podcast on Tuesday next week, but we'll see. If I do decide to, I might actually just decide to wait the day just so I can go over the finale of it. But if that's the case, then let me just tell you how I think it will go. I do think USA versus Japan will probably be the finals. Let me see how they do the bracket. Well, they're not showing me how they're going to do the bracket. So it is what it is. But I do believe that we're probably going to get USA versus Japan. I do favor Japan just because the hitting of USA still has not got going. Yes, we've scored a bunch of runs, but a lot of runs have been because of walks. Japan's pitching is not going to do as many walks. Japan has been hitting every game. So I know Japan's second half of their lineup is pretty weak. It's their top half of their lineup that's strong, and USA's lineup is strong everywhere. But we definitely have some holes. And you can't sleep on Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic's going to either, I do believe they will end up beating. I do think they're clearly the number 3 team. That's my opinion. They're clearly the number 3 team. And could they beat USA or Japan? Yes, they could. So I don't know who they would play in a semifinal, but they definitely could play one of them. And I think they could beat either one. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being Dominican Republic either. If it's one of those 3 teams, not surprised. If it's anyone else, I would be surprised. I think the 2 hot dogs, USA and Japan, and I do favor Japan because of USA's hitting has not got going. Well, that will be everything for for this episode on the SPR Sports News Podcast. I have a lot to go over next week. We'll be going over the finale of the WBC. We'll go over the fight night that's coming up, the following fight night, and we're going to be going over a lot of more talking points too, because you never know what's going to happen if Jon Jones and Dana go at it. We'll see if something happens. He gets released. Who knows? There's going to be a lot of talking points over this next week, and I will see you guys next time.